This video is brought to you by Hit Point Press and the month of Heckna. Pre-order now to get new content each week, including Heckna's Hellish Howlings, the official soundtrack by Mint Potion. Pre-order now at heckna.com. Good day, critters, and welcome to the Gallant Goblin. Today we have a heap of unpainted minis from Critical Role, the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount for D&D. The Critical Role campaign may be over, but your adventures may just be getting started. This set includes a ton of new PC and NPC minis, and some new monsters, all of which are, of course, usable in whatever D&D or Pathfinder setting you're playing in. They're all pre-primed and ready to paint out of the box. But before we jump in, I wanted to announce that we're launching our YouTube Gallant Goblin membership plan. For our biggest supporters who want to help us continue what we do here at the Gallant Goblin, you can become a member for $2.99 or $4.99 a month. You can get exclusive actual play videos like our playthrough of Candlekeep Mysteries, The Scrivener's Tale, early access to our review videos, new emojis to show your support, badges, priority responses to comments, and more. All our regular reviews will still be free to everyone. We're just making new content to thank our members who help us stay on the air. You can learn more about it in the video in the eye in the corner of your screen up there. But now, let's see what's new in Wildmount. Let's start with some fun ones, the Hobgoblin, Wizard, and Druid. I'm speechless. Well, not really, but if you've watched me for a while, you know that all I've ever wanted are unusual race-class combination minis, and it really doesn't get much more out there than a Hobgoblin, Wizard, or Druid. With the new character building rules in Tasha's, you're more free than ever to create characters like this without having to worry about being underpowered. And the Wildmount book does give you all the rules you need to create Hobgoblin characters, and characters for all the minis included in this set. Most of the information is pre-printed from other books, but it's still a great resource for getting all those PC race options in one place. Aside from the core classes, they've got the stats for the Aarakocra, the Aasimar, the Furbolg, the Genasi, the Goblins, Bugbears, and Hobgoblins, Goliaths, Kinku, Orcs, Half-Orcs, Tabaxi, and Turtles. Plus the Hollowborn that we'll talk about in a moment. And the rules for customizing your racial ability score increases are in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Let's stay in the Goblinoid family pool with the Goblin, Sorcerer, and Rogue. Interestingly, it appears that they've taken the same basic character sculpts, in this case a long-haired goblin woman, and crafted two different minis with two different classes. And we certainly don't get a lot of goblin minis with longer hair like this. The Sorcerer mini comes with a translucent fire spell effect. I am loving these so far. Once more into the Goblinoid pool with the Bugbear Fighter. A little sad we didn't get like a Bugbear Wizard or a Bard, but these will at least double for any villainous bugbears that you may encounter in the wilds of Xhorhas. And since bugbears are one of those races that you frequently encounter in packs, it's great to get some more unique sculpts. Though you'll note that these two are wearing finer armor than you typically see on bugbears, so they would make particularly good PC mini options. In this universe, Goblinkin were first created in the nation of Xhorhas near the town of Rosanna by the betrayer god Bane, and Goblinkin still hear his whispers, driving them to acts of cruelty and evil, though some have found a way to break free of that vile influence. Now let's move into the new subraces, races, and classes introduced in the Wildmount book, starting with the Lotusden Halfling Ranger minis. The Lotusden Halflings hail from the natural heart of the Lotusden Greenwood. They're particularly well suited to navigating through nature. They gain access to the spells Druidcraft, Entangle, and Spike Growth, and are difficult to track by predators. Plus, they ignore difficult terrain made up of natural undergrowth. Here you've got a hood up and a hood down variant of the Ranger. The Dragonborn in Matt Mercer's world are split into two subraces, the Drakenborn ruling class with long tails, and the tailless, previously enslaved Ravenites. When their country was destroyed some 20 years ago, the class system broke down and now the Ravenites are free to set their own course. Here we've got two fairly similar looking minis wielding hammers. Maybe they're two versions of the same character, sibling adventurers, or a pair of contract workers just looking for a few really big nails. The moon-worshipping Pallid elves live in the Sirius Mountains in Wildmount. They're generally considered mystical and insightful, but they have a fairly mysterious origin, having just one day emerged from the destroyed area once known as the Pallid Grove about a century ago. Are they a new subrace, one that has remained hidden until now, or something else entirely? Depending on how you paint these minis, that can be any sort of elf you want. One mini is certainly a bard, but the other one with the dagger and the spell effect could be a variety of different classes, not just a rogue. The Hollow One is an entirely new race created for Wildmount. They are soulless humanoids who are reborn after death through some mysterious magic. They look pretty much like any other humanoid, though they may be a little bit paler or have an air of necromancy about them that might be noticeable to people trained in such things. So these minis could be used as Hollow Ones, or elves, or half-elves. Their long hair hides their ears, after all. One unique aspect of the Hollow One race is that it's a way to bring back a character in your campaign who's died to let them continue in the story under that player's control. Now let's talk about the new class options. The wizard gets the schools of Graviturgy and Chronurgy, represented by these two minis here. It's pretty self-explanatory, but the Graviturgy wizard has control over gravitational forces, and the Chronurgy one has control over the flow of time. And there's all sorts of new spells to support both subclasses. Their powers are generally represented by the little flowing clock effect and the rippling pools of gravity that you can see on the female mini. I do like it when wizard minis include the spell book, as you can see on the Graviturgy mini here. The fighter gained a new martial archetype, the Echo Knight, which is particularly cool. These are the frontline warriors of the Kryn dynasty. They use dunamancy to summon shades of themselves from parallel universes or parallel timelines or some such thing. Each knight gets an Echo counterpart, here represented by the translucent figure, which gives them a whole new range of abilities. And if you're like me and have a bunch of invisible minis from the old WizKids booster sets, those are prime candidates for Echo Knight Echoes as well. The next 4 sets are some of our more common races and classes themed after various locations in Wildmount, starting with the human Dwendalian Empire Fighters. This set is a bit strange in that both minis are almost identical, with just a slight variation in how high they're holding their swords. Otherwise, they have the same face and attire. You could paint them up different colors, of course, to give you some variation, or you could use these as city guards or knights who belong to the same order. The Dwarf Dwendalian Empire Fighter pack is closer to what we're used to with these Unpainted packs. 2 minis of the same character with different armor and weapons. So you can have a mini to use while you're using your axe, and another one for when you pull out your hammer, or one that's for low level play, and one that's for higher level play. And again, most of these minis don't have anything about them that would preclude you from using them in your non-critical role games if they fit your character concept. Next is the half-elf Xhorhas Paladin, one standing at attention and the other going in for an attack. Again, you get 2 with different sets of armor, though they both have the longsword. I really dig the combination of plate mail with the long wraparound scarf and cape thing. That's a very cool and unique look in my book. In fact, these may be some of my favorite minis in the whole set, and do note that these come with the transparent bases, which I assume will be the norm going forward. Our last PC-styled mini is the human Clovis Concord Cleric. I can't remember seeing too many minis holding a flail, so if that's your weapon of choice, keep this mini in mind. The other mini comes armed with a mace. They both have a shield though, one of which is blank if you want to try to paint the symbol of your cleric's god on it. So while it's another set of human melee fighters, I do appreciate the subtle differences like the inclusion of the flail and the mace. All the minis up to now have had an MSRP of $4.99, as does this pack of Husk Zombies. Husk Zombies are beefier, scarier versions of regular zombies. They're CR1 instead of CR1 quarter. They have multi-attack, and they get more attacks if they bring you below 0. So if your DM wants you dead, they can probably make it happen. And if you do get slain by these guys, you become one of them. Did I mention that they're almost twice as fast as a regular zombie too? The rest of the minis here have an MSRP of $8.99, except for the last one, which we'll talk about shortly. Let's look at this pack of 3 Core Spawn Crawlers. Core Spawn are the manifestations of elder alien evils who poked through to the material plane, and they come in all sorts of fun shapes and sizes. The Crawlers here are the smallest and most common variety, and they have pack tactics, blind sight, tremor sense, and a 4-strike multi-attack, making them kind of a beast for a CR1 creature. If you want something a little bit more scary, allow me to introduce you to the Correspond, Emissary, and Seer. The airborne emissaries work as assassins and sentinels who are able to expel clouds of spores that can poison foes, causing persistent damage. And the trilling thrum of their wings can also charm you. Nasty creatures. The Faceless Seers are Eldritch Arcanists, whose bodies are covered in crystalline protrusions. They're CR13 creatures with a bit of chaos in their stat block. Aside from the creepy crawly legs, this mini also very much resembles the Ashen Man from Pathfinder, who is shaping up to be a very important character in that universe. Now let's look at some Aeorian hunters, starting with the Nullifier. These creatures were created by mages in the old flying city of Aeor, which is not so much flying anymore. They were made to fight all the people that Aeor considered a threat, including angels, demons, devils, fae, and the gods themselves. It's a wonder that the city lasted as long as it did. The Nullifier, which looks a little bit like a snake-headed troll with way too many mouths, is a CR12 creature with all sorts of abilities that can ruin your caster's day. Counterspell, Dispel Magic, Magic Resistance, See Invisibility, Anti-Magic Field. I hope you brought along your Barbarian. And here is the Aeorian Reverser. This guy can mess up your tanks and healers. Whenever someone near him gets healed by pretty much any means whatsoever, the Reverser can, well, reverse the healing and cause that creature to take damage instead. And he's also resistant to magic. If you face all of the Aeorian hunters in the same fight, you're really going to have to make some smart tactical decisions, as your normal routines are probably not going to work. They are CR8 creatures. The Marrow Shallowpriest here is another one of my favorites in the set. The Shallowpriests are Marrow who have learned to harness elemental magic, letting them rise in the ranks of the Marrow caste system to become powerful leaders. They're able to cast Druid spells like Dispel Magic, Lightning Bolt, and Sleet Storm, giving them a CR of 4. Now, a lot of these figures and minis may look familiar. As you can see, when we compare these figures to the painted ones in the Critical Role monster packs, they have the same basic design, but they're in different poses. So you can use them all at the same time without having clones. The Gloomstalkers are Shadowfell monsters who can really mess up your day. They can paralyze with a shriek, snatch you up with their claws, shadow step into the sky, and unceremoniously drop you to your demise. They also frequently served as mounts for evil arcanists and followers of the Betrayer gods back during the Calamity. If your party insists on pushing through and traveling into the night, this shadow creature can make them reconsider their life choices. They have a CR of 6. And here's the big mama Swavain Basilisk, the only huge mini in the set and the only one priced at $14.99. When your characters decide to go for a dive, have them find a lovely underwater garden of statues. Was this a sunken temple, a sanctuary for sea elves? No, there's an underwater basilisk right behind you. Roll for initiative. But these basilisks don't use their stare to petrify. They secrete an oil on their skin that does the job. So getting up in melee with them is gonna be a harrowing experience. It's a shame that bow and arrow doesn't work so hot underwater. The Swavain Basilisk has a CR of 7. As I mentioned earlier, painted versions of these monsters appeared in the 2 Monsters of Wildemount sets from WizKids that released back in June. You can check out our full review of those box sets in the eye in the corner of your screen right now. And while I'm thinking about it, remember that we give you a ton of useful links, timestamps, corrections, and more information in the video description, or the doohickey as I call it, below each video, so that's a resource you can always use. I gotta say that I'm really happy with this set of minis, particularly for giving us so many minor races to play with. We don't, for example, have a lot of Hobgoblin minis, and Hobgoblins are playable in D&D, Pathfinder, and even Starfinder. And they can be a really interesting race to roleplay. And I really appreciate the abilities of the Aeorian Hunters and how they can make a party rethink their usual tactics. So having a few more of these minis is great too. And now, if there's just a few of the Wildemount monsters that you want to pick up, you can get them without having to buy the whole box set. And a lot of these could be really interesting to paint. I'd love to see what you're able to do with them, so please post your pictures over on our Discord server, where we're also gearing up to maybe do a painting contest pretty soon. So if you're interested in that, come join us and check it out. These minis should be hitting store shelves in October for $4.99, $8.99, and $14.99 depending on the pack. And there are quite a lot of new Critical Role figures coming down the pike soon too, so be sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any. Also, do not miss out on the month of Heckna from Hit Point Press. We are very close to the release of the PDF version of the Heckna setting and campaign guide for 5th edition, and I am super excited to start running some of these stories on the channel. If you pre-order now, you'll get a discounted price, and you'll be able to get new content each week leading up to the release of the full PDF. And you can also order the physical book or the box set to get access to all the digital goodness, including the campaign soundtrack. This adventure is written by the incomparable Ashley Warren, and it has some storytelling innovations that you really need to check out. We'll do a full review of Heckna as soon as we get our hands on the physical goodies. Go check it all out today at heckna.com. And thank you for watching today. It would mean the world to me if you would consider signing up for our YouTube memberships to help sustain us as we try to make a living as a little niche YouTube channel. There will also be regular news videos for our members so that they can stay on top of the upcoming releases. Also, I hang out on Twitch, on YouTube, and the YouTube Live on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, playing video games and chatting with you. I'm currently playing Subnautica Below Zero, so you can come see me getting scared to death by leviathans while I try not to drown. And on Wednesday nights here on YouTube, we have the premieres of our actual play games that I think you'll also enjoy. Currently, we're playing Candlekeep Deconstruction by Amy Vorpal from Candlekeep Mysteries. Or, if podcasts are your thing, you can listen to the Gallant Goblin Plays on your podcasting app of choice. At the moment, the first episode is populating around all the various podcast directories and apps. If you don't see it on your app of choice, let me know and I'll make sure it gets added. If you want to really help us out, you can leave us a kind review over on Apple Podcasts, as that's how new people are going to be able to find us. And as always, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For now though, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.